Today we're talking about US Representative Brad Sherman and asking, what in the world is this guy smoking? What's going on, guys? So the other day, the US Senate had a hearing talking about ICOs and cryptocurrencies. It was almost embarrassing at how uninformed our politicians really are. I understand that they have a lot of stuff going on, but some of these guys have no idea about anything. And I'm going to talk about Brad Sherman, Representative Brad Sherman. This is an elected US official from California who possibly has a brain the size of a peanut. First off, I'm pretty sure this guy is confused what he's even doing here in the first place. But this guy, Mr. Sherman, really is the one I want to kind of talk about in this video and talk about how wrong he is about everything that he talks about.
Cryptocurrencies are a crock.
So you think cryptocurrencies are a crock? Well, I can't respond to that statement. This video is over. There's no point of me even trying to rebuttal. Congratulations, Mr. Sherman, on explaining your intelligence in this first line. Because who really uses the word crock anymore?
What social benefit do they provide?
Cryptocurrency actually gives power back to the people to control their own money, where governments can't manipulate and fraud their citizens. One quick example would be Venezuela. A public open source blockchain is the key for an informed, healthy society. Our current monetary system prints money and tells people it's valuable, while the US dollar continuously sinks in value. Also, what's the debt at right now? The USA debt? I can't even remember. It's something $20 trillion?
Well, they allow a few dozen men in my district to sit in their pajamas on the couch all day and tell their wives they're going to be millionaires.
I don't even know how to respond to this statement that people sit in their pajamas all day and then tell their wives they're going to be millionaires. I think there's actually a lot of millionaires who are invested in Bitcoin and blockchain technology. So right off the bat, Mr. Sherman, you're wrong, because there's a lot of millionaires in the USA who own Bitcoin. Crazy how many guys are rich from blockchain, from cryptocurrencies in general. So your idea that only people in pajamas sitting on their couch telling their wives they want to be millionaires is clearly wrong.
They help terrorists and criminals move money around the world.
Cryptocurrencies help terrorists. Well, actually, I would blame the USA for helping most terrorist organizations. Let's think about the Iran nuclear deal. Also, let's think about who funded Osama bin Laden from the beginning. This had actually been the CIA and the USA helping terrorist organizations overthrow governments and then in turn creating these actual terrorists. So I'm pretty sure the most popular currency for terrorists is the US dollar.
They help tax evaders.
It's funny because the amount of money that the USA is losing from large corporations like Apple, who's putting all of their patents offshore, politicians who are also getting huge kickbacks from major corporations for helping them keep these loopholes going. I don't think our issue here is cryptocurrencies helping people evade taxes.
They help startup companies commit fraud, take the money, and 1% of the time they actually create a useful business. But then again, I dare say that some tiny percent of all larceny and crime helps finance something that turns out to be useful.
So what you're telling me is that cryptocurrency itself actually helps people fraud other people. Okay, so it's like the little cryptocurrency has a mind of its own and it's an evil little creature and it's out there taking people's money. It's not actually the cryptocurrency, Brad. This is actually just people who are frauding other people, which happens every single day. And I would actually believe that the stock market is one of the largest frauds ever, as banks and large funds manipulate the market every single day and fraud investors.
It hurts the U.S. government in two ways. Our ability to have the dollar be the chief means of international finance is what has underpinned our ability to impose sanctions.
So, Mr. Sherman, your theory is that cryptocurrency is literally devaluing the US dollar and also reducing the USA's power over the rest of the world. But my question for you is the US Federal Reserve actually hurting the US dollar much more and reducing the dollar's value and power over other countries?
When we have people take risk, we don't encourage gambling. We encourage investment in the real economy.
So the USA does not encourage gambling, but the gambling industry is massive. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry that pays billions of dollars in taxes. So really, is this an issue of gambling, or is this an issue that cryptocurrency isn't paying enough taxes?
Now, I know that this
yeah, what are we talking about again? Let me remind you, Bitcoin cryptocurrencies, Mr. Sherman.
That these cryptocurrencies are popular. They're popular with guys who want to sit in their pajamas and tell their wives they're going to be millionaires.
Again, you talk about cryptocurrency only being popular to people in their pajamas on their couch talking to their wives. Are you saying that men sit on the couch all day while their wives do all the work? Mr. Sherman, I don't know if you want to go down this road, but the women's movement right now is very strong and powerful, and I've seen a lot of prominent, smart women in the blockchain world.
And they're harmful in one other way, and that is, and I'm going to mispronounce the word, cinerage is the benefit that the U.S. government gets by issuing currency. It is the float. It is the fact that we do not pay interest on newly created dollars.
I'm confused here. This must be wrong. The USA pays $187 billion per year in interest on these newly created dollars, Mr. Sherman. So, Mr. Sherman, you're a politician, you work in the government, and the USA makes $3.3 trillion in revenue, but the actual budget is budgeted at $4.1 trillion. Have you ever ran a business? You know, when you spend more money than you make, you actually end up losing money and the business cannot function. And then in the future, the interest, the loans, and everything starts piling up. You can see where I'm going here, Mr. Sherman. This is a question I need you to answer. And don't blame cryptocurrencies for this deficit.
And the Fed is able to return well over $50 billion to our Treasury in many of the recent years. We undercut that.
The Federal Reserve's net income adds $55 billion. Its revenue comes from a variety of activities. It pays interest on billions of dollars in operating funds deposited to these agencies. In addition, the Fed owns $4 trillion in U.S. Treasury securities it acquired through quantitative easing. But that income is declining as the Fed reduces its holdings. This is very scary to think that the Fed owns $4 trillion in U.S. Treasuries that they bought basically using credit. From the sounds of it, it sounds like this whole thing is a Ponzi scheme. I'm not sure. I need to do more research.
And then finally, we've got these initial coin offerings deliberately naming themselves to lie to the public and convey the image that it's like an initial public offering.
So you're telling me that a IPO is this very secretive magic thing that nobody else has ever thought of, right? Well, actually, an ICO is a much better way for companies to raise capital. Instead of having to pay a bank, to pay an underwriter, to pay a listing fee, to pay an exchange, and all of this stuff, the actual money raised in an ICO can be used for development for these companies.
Fraudulent gambling scheme of no social benefit. Aside from that, I think it's a good idea. I yield back.
Mr. Sherman, I'm not sure what your social benefit is to society, but I think you should probably refrain from talking about cryptocurrencies or actually talking about the US dollar. I'm pretty sure that you think that this is all a big monopoly game and you can get as much money as you want from the banker at any time. Because that's not really how it works, Mr. Sherman. And I would love for you to learn more about cryptocurrencies, but I'm afraid that your pea-sized brain could not actually understand the idea that blockchains will revolutionize the world and cryptocurrency is not going anywhere. And I'm afraid that in the future, the US dollar might be going somewhere and it's not going up. But luckily for you, Mr. Sherman, you're old and you probably won't be a politician for much longer, and you won't be around to see when the US dollar goes to zero. But unfortunately, I will be here and I will have to live in this world of chaos after you and other politicians like you have ran the US government into the ground. So please, Mr. Sherman, just walk away now. Just walk away. Pardon yourself. You can retire from this idea that you have any valuable information to add to this cryptocurrency debate.